3012.
Mike Rowe here at a Ford dealer with a little Q&A for Fiona. According to the signs, Ford is having some sort of big tire event. How would you describe the event?
It's big.
The savings one might enjoy at the event.
They're big.
What about the selection?
Big.
Get a $60 mail-in rebate on Ford Select tires. Use the Ford Service credit card for an extra $60.
So I think we can agree then that Ford's tire event is good-sized.
No, Michael. It's big.
Subject to credit approval. Rebate by check. Offer cannot be combined. See participating Ford dealer for rebate and other offer details through 11/30/12.
We believe that even when your team is apart, it should be easy to be together. That when you can meet face-to-face, you're more... That when everyone is on the same screen, it's a lot easier to be on the same page. Welcome to GoToMeeting, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate online. With one click, launch or join a meeting from anywhere. It's that easy. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and enter promo code 45 for a free 45-day trial. GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing.
And I'm meteorologist Sean Rowland. We have a mix of sun and clouds for today. Breezy, warmer as high temperatures reach near 70. Heading into tonight, cloudy, rain develops towards midnight, staying mild with lows around 60. A period of rain Friday ends early, otherwise mostly cloudy, maybe another shower or storm in the afternoon, low 70s, and then partly sunny on Saturday, 65 to 70. From the WSNJ Weather Center, meteorologist Sean Rowland.
The following is a paid political program. Now it's time for Voice of an Independent Nation. And here's your host, David W. Bowen.
Yes, good afternoon,
the following
everybody.
Is a paid political.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the show. WSNJ, 1240 AM. The phone number here is 856-765-1240. We have a couple things going on today in our program. I wanted to touch base with everybody, see what you thought about that debate we had there on Tuesday. It was quite interesting. I think it proved a lot of points. Depending on what side of the aisle you're on, you had your key points and you had your negative points. But the bottom line is we got pretty much our own idealisms in order with that. I think we've each made our own decision as to how we're going to go with it. We felt some things were key, some things were not. Each opponent had their wins and their losses. But again, it's up to you to decide. My biggest issue with the whole debate was there was only two of them up there. I would have liked to seen Jill Stein and Gary Johnson and the other people running for president up there. That would have been good, more beneficial for everybody. As I said, there are a few things I want to talk about. One thing I've noticed just in my own political campaign is the fact that we're all putting signs out there. And some people are for signs, some people are against signs in their yards and stuff. But one thing I noticed is the people tend to remove signs from their party's opponents. And that kind of agitates me because in a way I think that's voter suppression. You're not spreading the word as you should. I mean, I understand you're all for your party, and I back that up 100%, and I believe in your belief system. The problem is if you're stopping other people from opening up and seeing new points, new ideas, then that's suppression. And I just don't agree with that. Signs cost a lot of money. Seeing people take a sign from their opponent, from their candidates' opponents, is just not right and illegal, actually. If it's the state coming around and cutting the grass or whatever the situation is, I definitely can understand that. I would have liked to seen them put signs back, but for the most part, if it's just citizens going around and removing signs of their candidates' opponents, it's just not right. And I don't believe in that. As I said, I carry around with me, not that I know verbatim, word for word, but I carry around for me something I got from the Congress had several thousand of these printed up. It's the Constitution. I walk around with it. I try to read it as much as possible, pay attention to it, because if I'm running for Congress, I should know this, right? You'd be surprised at how many, including our own congressman presently, who does not know it. Try to pay attention to it, and it's funny because my one of my children are learning about politics in school this week, and they come home quizzing me. And I got a big laugh out of it because he was actually learning it, you know. And when I went to school, yeah, we touched base with it, but we didn't memorize it. But it is very key, and I think it's something we have to stick with. There are a lot of parties out there who try to say, yeah, we're all for the Constitution. Well, guess what? That's what built this country. That's the backbone. That's our, what's a good word, plan. The architect's plan for building a good nation. And I think sometimes Congress and the president is swayed away from that, and that's not a good thing. Even though the Constitution doesn't cover every situation, it does give us a good base in order to go on and make a decision. And it clearly states that whatever decision that the federal government is not allowed to make according to the Constitution, the state can. But the bottom line is, it's telling you that the federal government should be limited on what it can and can't do. The rest of it falls to the state and then to the people. As you know, I believe in a smaller government. By that, we have to deregulate many things, including business. I'm a big, because in business, I've had several business ventures. I do believe that we need to deregulate our business. Excuse me. By doing that, we can allow businesses to grow. If we're constantly constraining them, then they're never going to be able to grow. And unfortunately, that's not the case in today's world. I don't know if you've been paying attention to any of my interviews or my articles that have been written about me or by me. I have a thing where I have part of my plan is where I want to reduce taxes. Now, everyone's talking about reducing taxes, but unfortunately in Romney's plan and Obama's plan, there's also some taxes to be raised. Now, not on everybody, just on certain parties, classes. But I'd like to lower taxes for everybody. I mean, some people get the hairs on the back of their neck in an uproar. But what I'm thinking is, and I've spoken with a few economists about this, is if we reduce taxes, and I'm looking between 18 and 20%, but right now I'm trying to do the math for the 15 to 18%. For everybody across the board, corporation and everybody, I think you'll, for one, increase consumer and investor confidence. By doing this, you know, more people start putting money out there. Investors will start investing in projects and their own companies. If we take the loopholes away from the super rich and the companies from putting their business overseas, then we can invest that back into incentives for companies to expand here. Would you rather see somebody take $1 million and put it overseas to put get people working there, or would you like to take that same $1 million to invest in their own company and to advance it and expand it here? I mean, expansion here is always key. Now, I came across a few stories, and one of which I just wrote about. You know, I talked about the motorsports here in Millville. They spent $100 million, and it was supposed to provide 1,000 jobs. Well, after 2 years of being built and going through the process, it went into bankruptcy. Well, because of that, you know, I mean, they didn't get to 1,000 jobs. There are only just about 300 jobs. Now, I mean, that's good. 300 jobs is 300 jobs. We need that. But for $100 million, you know, there's a phrase out there, we need more bang for our buck. Let's take the other situation that Cassandra Schober was talking about, the bridge down in Ocean City and Summers Point cost $400 million, and it employed about 500 people. Well, what you fail to realize is that 500 people were short-term people who were contracted to work there. When the contract ended, the job was finished, they moved on to the next project. Yes, it did stimulate the local economy a little bit, but not enough, and not on a continual basis. This new story I just heard about, our congressman was right here in Franklin Township on Tuesday, right around the corner from my house. What he did is he presented a check for $1.45 million from the EDA, Economic Development Authority. And what that check was for was the Township of Franklin took over this property called Meredith Farms. It was an old chicken processing plant, I believe. And what happened is the owner just skipped town one day, and all the chickens were left there, and everything was left. And then somebody came there, and he had a whole bunch of dead chickens. Well, the township came in, took over the property. Now they want to revitalize it, make it a food processing plant, and a couple other things. Well, Frank Lobiondo, though through no efforts of his own, this is strictly the township that did this work, brought a check from the EDA just to get his name out there again. This is part of my peeve with Frank Lobiondo, is he loves putting his name on different projects that have nothing to do with him. He was the handyman that brought the check down and got his picture taken. That's all wonderful, but don't take credit where credit's not due. But the good thing is, for that $1.45 million, the township has to come up with, I believe, another $1.45 million for a total of $2.9 million, or just under $3 million. With that money, once they are complete, they will be able to have 200 jobs for that processing plant. Now, to me, that's more bang for your buck. Nearly $3 million for 200 jobs, or $100 million for 300 jobs, or $400 million for 500 temporary jobs. You see where I'm getting? If we use that same mentality, which is what I'm trying to do and trying to incorporate, is you make a lot of smaller projects. We have, like all over this area, we have all kinds of businesses that failed. Somebody has an idea. What would you do with that plant? What would you do with that plant? We could expand upon that. And we can take a small amount of money. Now, to you and I, $1.45 million is a great deal of money. But in a business world, that's just chicken feed. We can take that same amount of money on a much smaller scale and create a lot more jobs for our area. And this is part of my plan. I want to incorporate the SBA, SBIC, local banks, the ones that are participating in this area, because there's not too many larger banks in our area. Let's see, some venture capitalists, just some regular local investors, and some businesses. I want to incorporate them along with our federally funded colleges and universities and use them as incubators for resources, talent, because you do have people, depending on what your project is. The students there have information, and they can use it as a field study of per sort. And with that, we can use that as an incubator to create new business. And if you give a little bit of grant money to the SBIC and the SBA to provide loans and stuff like that, we can use these incubators and create larger businesses. Now, first, it may employ 1 or 2 people, and then that'll grow within a year. This isn't a short-term fix. We need to do this long term. You incubate somebody for 1 or 2 years, teach them all the processes that they need, because somebody may have a good idea, but they don't know how to get there. And that's why America isn't proceeding as well as they should, is because they need to be introduced, and the banks just don't want to introduce. Banks aren't in the business to loan you money. They're in the business to loan people where they have some type of collateral. Business just isn't collateral. It's a hypothetical. Okay, now if you take these and you incubate them for a year or so, and then you let them on their own, but constantly watch them, they'll start to add more and more jobs. And one of the things I think it should be key is, if we take those businesses that we just created, and part of the criteria of using the money is they have to hire unemployed. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to be 100%, because there's not a nuclear physicist unemployed right around the corner. You may have to do a little bit of work. You may have to hire somebody who is already employed. But the key personnel should be unemployed, underemployed, or veterans coming back from service or those who are already here. I think that is so important. We tend to forget all the key people in our life. How many of you grew up and either your father, your mother, your brother, or Uncle Joe or whoever was over in the military, and you come back and you never hear them talk about it because, people just don't want to hear that anymore. I used to love listening to stories about that. And one of my biggest things, I went to a private school, and I used to love, part of our projects is we went to nursing homes and hospitals and talked with geriatric people. And I used to love spending time with the elderly people, the people who were up there. They had stories that were unbelievable. Now keep in mind, we realize some elderly people are a little bit, they've lost their mental ability. So some of the stories weren't exactly true or accurate, but they were always entertaining. But some of the people who were real, like my father, he was 85. He had his senses on him until the day he died. But, not everybody's like that. The stories they tell are great learning instruments. And that's part of my belief system. I love to learn from whatever avenue possible. And our elderly, America is one of the few nations that don't take care of our elderly. And I think that's another thing. We need to take care of the elderly. There's so many things on my platform that I believe we need to take care of the veterans, the elderly, women. Women are key. They're being considered second-class citizens because they have pre-existing conditions. Now, I never thought of having a child as a pre-existing condition or the ability to have a child or birth control. That's ridiculous. I can get on, start talking about what's personal and what's I believe there's three sides. There's personal, there's business, and then there's political. Personal is personal. It's who you are. It's how you live. Business is business, everything for the business. And then political, it should be everything about the citizens of America. And unfortunately, it has left that idealism. There are some politicians out there that just don't believe in their citizens anymore, even though their citizens are the ones who put them there. And I ask that people pay attention to this election in 20 days, realize who you're voting for. And like I'm saying, it's not a matter of being right or wrong, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Tea Party, liberal, constitutional, whatever. The bottom line is, whatever your belief system is, you have to vote accordingly and have all the answers. Just don't say, that guy makes sense today. Because a lot of what they said on the television on Tuesday and before, they just touch base, but they never really answer the question. They always put out a little bit of truth and a whole bunch of doubt. And you have to stop and wonder exactly what is true. When we have to go and fact check everything they say, that's saying a lot about their character if they're not expressing the truth. Now keep in mind, they may believe in 100% of what they're saying because they're actually told what they're to say. I don't have anybody write my speeches. I just pull up the fact myself and I say everything that I believe to be true. If I'm mistaken, then I apologize ahead of time and after. But the bottom line is, I believe in what's true. As I was saying, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or whatever. The issues that affect America have nothing to do with what you believe in, whether you're Republican or Democrat. We all know somebody who needs a job. We all know somebody who's a woman who was being affected by Obamacare. We all know somebody who is a veteran who's being affected by their services. We all know someone who's elderly who's fearful of their Social Security and Medicare to be taken away. These are all things that as workers in America, we grew up believing that's going to be there by the time we get older, and we can count on them when we can't do that anymore to work in the workforce. So we can't, it's not an entitlement, it's an expectation. It's kind of like an insurance policy, like our unemployment insurance. You pay in every week, every month, however often you get paid. And if by chance you become unemployed or when you become old, you expect those services to be there. It's not an entitlement. It's you need that there. An 80-year-old cannot go back out to work and start working like a 20-year-old can. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. We need to take care of our people, and we need to start paying attention to what is out there and what's going on. It's not anything that has to do with our partisan parties. This is America as a whole, and we have to get back to the root system of the Constitution. What the Constitution stipulates, we have to live by. What it doesn't stipulate, we have to assume and live our life accordingly and make the best judgment possible. Okay, the Constitution is limited in what it says, but that limits the government. Every time you want an entitlement, that adds to the government's regulation and the expense of the government. And who do you think is going to pay for it? You, me, our children, our children's children, and so on. And we need to stop that process, cut all these extra programs out of our way, and allow the states to take over and become more involved in it. But as I said, the more and more that the federal and the states are in our lives, the more we allow them to control our lives, we are becoming entitled to them. We're dependent on the government, and that should not be. We should be free to live our lives accordingly, within reason, and without harming anybody. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you think about it, that's all most people want. Is when people overstep their bounds and they go to the extreme, like people fighting against the Second Amendment, the freedom to bear arms, right to bear arms. You know, you always have one or two extremists who make you question that. And I truly believe that we cannot stamp on the Constitution. We have to stay true to it. And like I said, if somebody oversteps their bounds, we have to punish them. And that's just not that crackball who decides to shoot up someplace. You know, we need to punish him to the fullest extent of the law. But that's also everybody else. Congress has to abide by the Constitution, the president, Joe down the street, Mary up the street, whoever it is. The Constitution is the basics. And then if you decide to be a religious person, you have to live your life according to the religion you choose. And one religion isn't better than the other. I have no preference over them. I personally am a Christian. I'm not specifying exactly which form of Christianity I believe in, but you know, I still live my life according to that. And I think that's just a personal preference. If you have certain beliefs, live by them. Don't question yourself. If you have to question your belief system, then possibly you don't believe in it to begin with, and you might want to reevaluate that. Like I said, everything I believe in, as far as the professional, political aspect, is on my website, davidwbowen.com. If you need to get in touch with me, my email is Bowen, 4, Congress@gmail.com. Feel free to contact me. I answer my emails. I have no problem. I constantly update things if I write something or if I'm written about or if my articles are on TV. I post them on my website, on YouTube. I'm out there. I believe in being totally transparent. And unfortunately, the current congressman is not. He doesn't even have his issues on his webpage. So we don't know what his issues are other than what he has flip-flopped around voting for over the 18 years. And you can pull up all this information. This is factual. He's not consistent except for a few things. And like I said, he was a good congressman, but he wasn't a great congressman. And I do believe that we need to put somebody in there who is good. I've also mentioned, as far as Cassandra Schober, her platform, a few things that she brought on there is talked about, getting the taxpayer to pay for her programs. You know, they're talking about, she's all for Obamacare. I mean, she's 100% Democratic. I mean, she believes everything that's told her to believe. You know, Obamacare has its good points, but for the most part, I think the entire thing should be repealed, and then take the good parts out and rebuild a new one. I mean, we've existed before without Obamacare. We need to come up with a better plan. Obamacare is not it. When you start raising taxes, you've already raised taxes, what Romney say, $2,500? And then after Obamacare goes into effect next year or 2 years from now, it will be raised another $2,500. You know, that's ridiculous. I do think that we need to come up with a better plan. One of those plans is the pharmaceutical companies. They control so much of society, and I just think that's so wrong. You know, medicine was around prior to the pharmaceutical companies, but now they're creating diseases just so they can create a medicine, so the federal government will pay for it. And I think that's ridiculous. You know, if you have something wrong with you, medicine should be able to heal you, but not if there's other avenues. You know, the amount of medicine that if you listen to the commercial, a 30-second commercial, they talk 10 minutes about, oh, buy this, do this, do this. And then 20 seconds of that 30-second commercial is all the side effects. You know, to me, that's just not right. But anyway, we'll talk more next week. I appreciate you joining us. Again, my name is David W. Bowen, Sr. I am running for Congress in District 2, South Jersey, against Congressman Frank Lobiondo. Please look at my website. Please email me if you have any questions, but please listen to our show. You have yourself a good day, a good week. Until next time, good day.
You've been listening to Voice of an Independent Nation with David W. Bowen. The program is a paid political program.
Let's say you're a mom and you want to put on the perfect